Hi, welcome or welcome back. Welcome back. Um, Welcome or welcome back. My name is Sharifa, and this is the New Year in Review, where books and movies and planning comes to life. In this series, I am sharing my 25 of 2025. And I'm going to be honest with you, I don't know in what order this video will be uploaded, but when it is uploaded, I will number it according to where it lands. But this is a special one because this is my 25 of 2025 recommendations of books for Black history. So, here in the United States, we celebrate Black history for the month of February. It's 28 days, but those 28 days, you know, a lot of people who are not of African descent, they have an opportunity to learn more about African history and African American history, and which is a beautiful thing, right? Because here in the United States, we're just a melting pot. We have specialized holidays for just about every group of people you can imagine. And so I think what really drove me to do one this year is because there has been rumors, I don't know how true it is, that our current president wants to eliminate all cultural holidays, which is unfortunate, right? Because that's just the United States. We're just a big melting pot. A lot of people come to the United States for those reasons. But we're not going to get into politics tonight, although I think I do have some political books. But I'm going to share with you my 25 or 2025 recommendations for Black history. And I'm hoping that I have something for everybody. So we'll see. So I'm going to start off with a collection of books that are short, very, very short reads. I mean, like, we're talking about not even an entire day. We're talking about a couple of hours or so. You can get these books read and, learn a little bit something about Black history. The first book I want to share with you, which came by surprise to me that I even want to include this in my collection, but I thought it was very relevant. This is One Day My Soul Just Woke Up, and this is a 40-day affirmations book by one of my favorite authors, Alanya Van Zant, and she has so many spiritual books for just anybody, but she definitely hits on the African and African American cultures and addressing reflective and soulful and thoughtful things that we can, I guess, reflect and ask ourselves about ourselves, as people. So this right here is 40 Days and 40 Nights Towards Spiritual Strength and Professional Growth. I've read this book several times. I'm actually in the process. I started this one February the 1st. And that's what really, because this wasn't even in the running. But I just thought during the course of that week that I started, we're like in the first week of February. So whenever you see this video, I just thought this would be something that anyone can read and resonate with. So yes, this is my first recommendation. My second recommendation comes from a series written by Ibram X. Kendi. And he is a scholar who has wrote several prolific books on race and anti-racism. And the book that I'm going to share with you is called Stamped, but it's not the original Stamp for adults, although I do have it. But this one is for children. And so I've read this one. I listened to the audiobook. And so this one was written by Jason Reynolds, who is he's a great children's author as well. He wrote the book, and it he's basically, he made it reader friendly for children. Let's just say that. And so that is a Stamped. One thing I will say, I am one of those people, if I find a book that I love, like I love the whole series Stamped. He has one for children. This is for the youngest of children. I want to say the age group in here are, we're talking about second and third graders. And it makes it so easy to read. This would be a good addition for any household who want to learn about race and anti-racism. But yeah, Stamped. The third book that I do have is one that I have used in my book clubs. And I've actually recommended this a few times. I used to host, and I still do host, but I guess since my son is no longer homeschooled because he's in college right now, I really have not lost touch, but I don't post like I used to on one of my social media pages, book recommendations for parents, but this was definitely one of them. It is called The Warrior Method. I cannot tell you. Now, this book right here, it was kind of gifted to me, and out of a collection of books that was left, and I was given, you all give me 1 minute. Okay, so this was gifted to me by my father. He's no longer with us, but he left like a collection of books, and this was one of them. It's called Stamped, The Warrior Method. This is actually, I will say this is recommended read for any parent of African American sons, black sons. This is really good. I did a book review on it, but it's not on this channel. But I can do another book review on a lot of these books if you're interested. But this is just a guide to build character and self-esteem in young black boys. And so I highly, highly recommend that. This particular book right here is also a series, and this author is independently published. However, you can find these books on his website. All the books that I have, I will try to post a link for them if I can find them. If I can't find them, I'll just, indicate I can't find them, but I definitely leave the name and the author. This is I think it's a 5-part series, but I have 4 of the books. And this is the first one of the series. It's called Countering the Conspiracy to Destroy Black Boys, Jawanza, Kunjufi. And I was going to count these as singular counts, but this is the first of the series. This is the second one of the series. And this was Countering the Conspiracy to Destroy Black Boys, Volume 2. And then this is Volume 3. I have Volume 4 somewhere. It has a blue and black cover. I've read these several times throughout the years, especially while my sons were really young. And when I say parents, it doesn't matter your background. You should always want to read any kind of literature pertaining to cultural's understanding of of the world as it looks at the obstacles that our kids may encounter and how we can counter that with our knowledge. Another book that I have right now is one that this was recommended to me by my cousin like almost 20 years ago, And I went to the library and I checked it out, and it was a quick read. Returned it, and then I decided, let me get my own book. And this book is called "Kill Them Before They Grow," a misdiagnosis, a mis a mixed diagnosis, misdiagnosis. I'm sorry, of African American boys in American classrooms. Michael Porter. Now, this book has changed the way I look at education as it pertains to young black boys. And as a parent, we advocate for our children. It doesn't matter, how old they are, but when you and this right here is based off of factual statistics and outcomes, and the author has written it so easy. It's like, this is a quick and easy read, but it packs a punch. But getting back to what I was saying is that as parents, we should always want to advocate for our children, no matter the age, no matter the situation. We are the first gatekeepers to protect them. And when we are shielded with the knowledge of how, how to understand the things that our kids are going through, it makes it so much easier for them to advocate and speak up for themselves. But yeah, I would highly recommend this, Kill Them Before They Grow. I think this is still on Amazon. I'm not sure. I've had this book for years now, and so this is a gem. I don't think I'll be getting rid of this anytime soon. All right. Now, along with my special books, and you'll probably hear me talk about these the longest. The other ones I'll just go through them really quickly, but that was, I think, number 5. Let me check and see. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, it's 5. And so this is 6. This book right here, I highly, 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 highly recommend every soul who can comprehend, and they're open to understanding how when one group loses, everybody loses. This book is called The Sum of Us: What Racism Costs Everyone and How We Can Prosper Together, by Heather McGuire. Now, when I say I've read this book several times, I've listened to audio, I've taken down copious notes, I've been able to implement and execute certain things based on, conversations, like talking points and outlooks based on reading this book. This gets to the heart of how we feel like we're hurting people, or like a group of people, when we decide to go against them. I'm going to give you an example, and this is a clear example, and if you don't like what I say after this, you can shut the video off, but this is true. Our previous election here in the United States, this is now, when I'm recording this video, February of 2025. We've had I would say, probably one of the most detrimental elections, that's going to change lives for a lot of people in the United States. And I have been in I would say, in an era of privilege, because when I was born, I had my voting rights. When I was born, all the people who came before me, men, women, black, white, they've done the struggle, they've done the fight, and they continue to do the fight for us, for equality. And so, with this previous election, the current president has signed a slew of executive orders trying to erase every culture, black, white, Hispanic, well, not really the white culture, because that's what he's trying to, I guess, revamp a purpose. But, attack on DEI. And if you're not educated on DEI, I honestly will encourage you to read about it and understand. So it's this thing, it's these talking points that are introduced about wokeism. And that's just a racial slur for anti-black, brown people, anti-gay, anything that's not heterosexual, white, cis, male. It's actually considered not acceptable. And it's sad because now we are living in a time where in real time, where people have to understand that, when you hurt one class or race of people, you're hurting everybody else. And this book right here is so fitting for what we're dealing with right now, because the whole goal of eliminating civil rights and DEI programs is to really hurt black and African American people. When you take away the Equal Opportunity Acts, that's to hurt, to eliminate and hurt black and brown people. And so when you start doing that, you're going to see a collapse of an economy that has been thriving, because when you have diversity, equity, and inclusion, I'm going to say this one: diversity, equity, and inclusion. You have a winning economy. And so I can't get into this book any further, but I just feel like this book, if you don't read anything else on this list, this is so relevant for the times that we are dealing with right now here in the United States. And the things that this president is doing is affecting citizens in the United States globally. So this is so fitting. So yes, Heather McGuire, The Sum of Us. All right, so that was my political rant for this book review. And I will understand. I don't care who you vote for. I just want to say that if you did vote for the other, because that's what I call that party, these are the choices that we're making when we're not investigating and we feel like, and we don't understand the butterfly effect, because that's what it is. It is the butterfly effect 2.0. So let's get back to this book review. And honestly, I'm not even going to edit this part out, because I just feel like this is something that had to be said and spoke about. A lot of our booktubers and people sometimes in the book community, they don't want to speak about controversial topics. They just say, man, you know what's going on in the world. That's what's going on in the world. Let's just keep it real. Let's just keep it going. So I welcome anybody to have this conversation constructively. But yeah, let's move on to the next one. So that was number 6. Number 7, and you have to forgive me because I think I have more than 25. I think some of them I was going to lump together, but we'll see. This is the Harlem Renaissance, 4 novels from the 1930s. And the 4 novels are, I actually started reading this in December. Not Without Laughter, Black No More, The Contour Man Dies, The Conjure Man Dies, and Black Thunder. And I only read the first one, Not Without Laughter. I plan to finish this book by the end of the year, but this is not my 25 or 2025. But this is from the 1930s. This is the Harlem Renaissance. And if anybody know anything about the Harlem Renaissance, you just know, right? This is absolutely gorgeous. I love it that it has like the little tassel in there. This was gifted to me last year, part of a program I participated in, and They gave everybody goodies. So this is the set I think I was talking about. So we're on number 7. So we have number 7, we have number 8. This book is a hidden gem. A lot of people really, when they think of Roots, they don't think of Queen. So I'm going to introduce these two together. This is Alex Haley's second book, Queen, the story of an American family. Alex Haley with David Stevens. So he was in the process of writing this book, and I think he passed away. I don't know the story fully, but I think that's what happened. And then they had his notes, and so David Stevens kind of helped with part 2. So part 1, and I read this book every year, is Roots by Alex Haley. This is considered nonfiction, although there has been some controversial conversations about, they consider it fictitious because not a lot of the information in there is not factual. It doesn't matter. It is a beautifully written book, and if you've seen the movie and you have not read the book, I highly, highly, highly recommend you read the book, because even in the first 4 pages, 100 pages, how they're describing the scenery of Africa is, oh my goodness, it's beautiful, and it gives you a second look, of what everybody think they know about how Africa really is, right? Roots and Queen. Both recommended, highly, highly recommended. This one is about Alex Haley's mother's side of his family, and Queen, I think, is about his, no. Which one is it? Queen is about his mother's side of the family, and Roots is about his father's side of the family, or vice versa. I'm going to have to get it right. But yeah, both of these two together. I haven't seen Queen in a long time, but I've seen Roots, I would say last year sometime. I was like not doing anything, and I just watched it. All right, so the next book on my list, I think that was number 8 or 9. But the next book on my list is Powernomics. This book is by Claude Anderson, Dr. Claude Anderson. I'm sorry, I'm getting tongue-tied. When I'm recording this video, it's actually late at night. So it's called Powernomics, the National Plan to Empower Black America. And I've learned so much about how to look at how valuable the resources are, and how money, how Black America spend their money, like the circulation of a dollar, as opposed to other cultures. And so this is a good read. I will recommend anyone who wants to have a quick understanding of economics in general, but Black America in general, Black economics, and how you can change that. One YouTuber, I want to say his name was Dr. Boyce Watkins. He actually did a live read on his YouTube channel. And I caught some of it, but I didn't catch all of it, but it's actually still recorded, so it should still be available. And if I can find it, I would definitely try to post the link, because I think he read the entire book. I only listened to a couple of the videos, because I've read the book before, and so I think it had so much to do with timing also, when the book was being shown. Well, he was sharing the Powernomics, but I love the fact that he did that, because it opened eyes to a lot of people who have never read the book by themselves. Sometimes when you do, like readings and other activities that are considered, I don't know how you consider it, but reading is one of those activities that I feel like if you do it in a group, you can get so much more out of it as opposed to doing it by yourself. So that was Powernomics. Great book. The next one, the Combee. And this one I have recommended. This is on my, what I say? This is my top 25 of 2025. So this is one of the books I have set aside to read this year. This is the story of, this is the Civil War story, and Harriet Tubman in the role she played in it as a soldier. And so I think that this would be a very interesting read. I think that a lot of people should put this on their radar. I'm feeling Pulitzer when I read the intro, so I'm normally I'm normally right when I say Pulitzer. I'm feeling Pulitzer or book. I don't think this is Booker, because Booker is nonfiction. I mean, it's fiction, but I am feeling that the author would get, great accolades for this. My next book is The Barn. Now, this book is also on my 25 or 25 books to read for the year. And so this one caught my eye. Now, I've read several books by Emmett Till, about Emmett Till. The author, Wright Thompson, he wrote this book based off of, I guess, information on conversations of people who had first-hand accounts of the murder of Emmett Till, who was a young African-American boy. I think he was 14 years old at the time. And so he was basically murdered for his encounter with a white woman. And stories like that, I think the only reason why, and this was something that was so frequent, right, in the past, that a lot of the lynchings and the murders of black folks back in the day were never talked about. Like, we have loved ones missing, and they, just off the face of the earth, and that causes a lot of trauma for a community when you feel as if, you are being scrutinized and judged every time you just want to live your life like everybody else, right? The Secret History of a Murder in Mississippi. I think this would be interesting. Actually, when I saw, I don't know how I found out about this book. I want to say I saw an interview or I saw an article on a release, an email that I know this is being released soon. But either way it goes, this is a definitely read I would encourage individuals. And then for myself, like once I read it this year, because this is on my 25 or 2025, I would definitely love to share this with you. If you just have the interest in having these conversations and knowing a little bit more about lynchings in the I would say this was in the 1950s, the late 1950s, 60s, and even so now, we have a lot of black women and men missing. Not to say that they're the only one missing, but it's kind of like their stories always go untold, and so we need to change that. I feel like everyone who's missing should have that platform or the same attention as if we were looking for someone's cat. I think sometimes the cat get more attention from being missing than some of these humans. Now, the next set of books I have are, I would say these next three are memoirs and biographies. The first one is Lovely One. This is a great book. I actually listened to the audiobook of Ketanji Brown Jackson. And if you don't know who she is the first African American female justice in the United States. And it's unfortunate because, I used to look at the Supreme Court as a court that was fair-minded, but now I'm not going to say it's garbage, but I just feel like we have to do better than what we're doing. But I like this sister right here. You should listen to this. I've actually listened to this on audiobook first because when it first came out, when it first dropped, I took one of my Audible credits and I bought this book. I bought it on Audible, and so I was able to listen to the book on audio before I actually physically purchased it. I knew I wanted to have it for my physical library, and so I may read this one, the physical copy, again this year because there were a lot of things that she said that were quotable, and that will be the reason for me to read it, highlight it, and mark it down. But for now, it's in my physical library. Lovely One. And if you want to know, Ketanji, that's what it means. Ketanji means lovely one. And so, she's a breath of fresh air. I recommend that you either listen to the audiobook. I think you will like it because she has so much character when she's, reading the book. So I'm a fan of hers. Okay. The next one is also a great book. This one, King A Life by John Egg. I think this one won a Pulitzer. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on anything I say about Pulitzers. But I got this one when it first came out, and this is a great book. You always feel like on certain subjects you've heard everything that you can hear, but there are always those little nuggets of information that you're like, okay, that's interesting. Martin Luther King, he was a man. I don't want to say he was just a man, right? Because sometimes when we are put in positions of leadership, sometimes we may decide not to move forward with it, and he moved forward. Like, I'm very sure he was depressed and had a lot of dark days, but that's the making of true leadership, right? When you have to wrestle with the choices that you're making because you understand the impact in the position that you are in. Unfortunately, he had a short life, and I would say there was an era when a lot of prominent black African American leaders were being just really assassinated because black people have had enough and they wanted quality just like everyone else. And so it was the final straw when he started marching for the Poor People Campaign. And poverty affects everyone across the board, right? Black, white, it doesn't matter. It affects everyone across the board. But this is a telling story about our government when you have people fighting for equality and we can't get the federal minimum wage past $7.25. And some people will say, well, in some states, they don't need to earn that much because the cost of living is cheaper, which that is a lie. No one wants to get up every day for $7.25. And even though, you have some employers in some parts of the world, their state or their city um, their city minimum wage are, above, way above 7.25. I just feel like none of the people in office are really listening to the constituents. Because here's the thing, and this was their argument, and it gets back to the Poor People's Campaign, in which Dr. King fought so hard about, was that, when people are making money, no matter if the employer is large or small, they're automatically putting it back into the economy. Now, we have this argument that employers can't afford to pay their employees. Well, I say this, some things you have to streamline the process, hire the best employees, and that may not be your cousin this time. And so, streamline the process, let your employees invest in your business, right? You keep 51%, but let them invest, and that in itself builds prosperity, ownership, responsibility. You feel like you're working towards something, not running from something. But I'm getting off this book collection. I just want to say I do highly recommend reading this book. And there's another book, well, quite a few, about Martin Luther King that I have in this collection. He was probably one of many African American leaders that I admired the most. So, King. Voila. I'm going to start going off these rants because I'm way past my 30 minutes. So this one is a hidden gem. This is Dunbar, The Life and Times of a Caged Bird. I have not read this yet. I started reading it and I stopped. And so, but I do recommend it. And I stopped because I was doing so many other things that had nothing to do with reading. But I do encourage, this is probably one of the most recent books written about Dunbar. Very few books are written about Paul Laurence Dunbar, but he was a poet, he was a writer, he was, a hidden gem in the African American community. And so I do recommend that this book be read by those who want to know a little bit more about Dunbar. He's not spoken about a lot, but he's definitely one of those hidden gems that I do encourage anyone who wants to know anything about his writings or anything to check this one out. Okay, I think that was it for my memoirs and biographies. So let me get into current or real life stories. This one is 5 Days at Memorial. Now, this book has stayed with me for so long. I finally got my own copy. This one is by Sheri Fink. I read this one years ago, and I actually saw the movie, which was, I want to say a couple of years ago, but I'm not sure. But there is a series based off this book, but it doesn't go in detail. The dramatization is really, on close to what had happened, but a lot of people lost their lives during the Great Flood of Louisiana, when the bridge had broken, the dam had broken, and I don't know, it was such a travesty in the lower district of Louisiana. And so the reason why I brought this book about, this is not particularly Black history, but it had a lot to do with the neighborhoods of African Americans who lost their homes, lost their lives, and they were just misplaced. And there has been a lot of rebuilding in Louisiana, but along with that, gentrification came, and so a lot of people were not able to go back to their homes. And those are the stories that I don't think we talk about enough. The same situation in California as we speak. So this is a book that I highly recommend anyone to read if they want to know about just like natural disasters and how it affects communities. Particularly, this one was a African American community who suffered a lot of the heartache. 5 Days at Memorial. Great book. Great mini series too. I couldn't even tell you where to stream it because it was so long ago when I saw it, but it was really nice. It's moving. This one is also a real life story. Author Toni, Cade, and Bambara. I don't know if this was published posthumously, but she's no longer with us. Those bones are not my child. And this is about the Atlanta murders. So we're talking about Georgia, Atlanta, Georgia. I'm getting all tongue-tied. This is a real life story, and a lot of people, when this is now in paperback if you're looking for it, and I want to say there's a movie edition of this book. If there is, I will mention it in one of my later videos because I'm doing 25 of the 25 books to movies. So if that is, I would definitely mention this one. But this is about the childhood murders that went on in Atlanta and unsolved mysteries. And so it's a novel. And so when you see novel, you're thinking like, oh, not nonfiction. But this is a true story. So I do highly recommend this. Anything that's historical, that has to do with any kind of like current affair, past tragedies and stuff. I don't know. I just love reading about it because it's just part of our history. But I do recommend this. This is part of my 25 of 2025 reads, Black History recommendations. Now, this one right here. I'm sorry, I got my books switching them back and forth. And I know I probably should turn this off and edit this, but I'm just going straight through. So you guys just bear with me. I'm almost done. This one is also a documentary, Africans in America, America's Journey Through Slavery. And this is a PBS special, WTTW. I don't know what it will be in where you're located, but this is a public broadcast system, PBS. That's what it stands for. And this is, I think I want to say, an 8-part series. This is over 30 years old. The documentary itself is highly recommended if you want to understand or know anything about Black history in America. This is the companion book, Africans in America, and this is actually my second copy. Now I'm going to tell you, make a long story short, when I initially saw this was on PBS, and they always have like this fundraiser, and so you can buy the book, and the money will go towards, proceeds will go towards, the channel. I got the book and the DVD set. No, was it the book and DVD set? I think it was the book and DVD set. I know I got 2 companion items, and I lost everything in a flood. So now when I see books like this, I'm like, oh, I need to get that book again because I want to put it in my library. So a lot of times when I'm replacing books, I'm actually building a library, not just for myself, it's for my family. The end goal is, I want friends and family to be able to go to the library in my home and pick up books that they never thought that they will run across or even be interested in reading. So that is the goal. And I do catalog all my books, so I know what's missing and what's not here. So we have to make a long story short. This is a great companion item, and the documentary is just as nice. All right, so let's get to the next one. This is the next set of books are short stories. This one in particular, The Source of Self-Regard, Selected Essays, Speeches, and Meditations. Toni Morrison. She is no longer with us either. And so I read some of the selections in here. And I will say her meditations, I've copied a couple of them down because the wordings of them are so beautiful, so self-affirming. This book, it is pulled from my bookshelf more than enough, and I do highly recommend this one. This is a great read. She has essays in here that I've never read before, and so my goal is to get through this entire book, not just scamming through just reading certain sections, but to read it from front to back for 2025. Although this is not part of my stack for 2025, but I am putting this book as high priority. The Source of Self-Regard. Love it. The next book, short story selections, The Matter of Black Lives, articles and short stories from the New Yorker, edited by Jelani Cobb and David Ribnick. I've mentioned them in the past. I've hosted a book club in which I'm actually getting ready to start the book club up again in the summertime. So if you're interested, please let me know. And I choose the summer because a lot of people, they want to read beach romances, but also I think summer is a good time for us to keep our minds sharp on things that's going on. And so this right here is not as intimidating when you're reading it with the short stories. There are so many short stories in here that I love. And you wouldn't realize how impactful these situations are in our everyday lives until these writers start telling their own stories. I can go on and on with different examples of stories, of the essays that I've read, by the authors in here. And so this is such a good read. I definitely highly recommend this book for anybody who just want to delve into the issue of the lives of black people and how we see the world, right? It's absolutely beautiful. The Matter of Black Lives. Yeah, I highly recommend it. This is one of my recs for Black History. Now, this one is a new one to me, and I have not read it yet. I've read about it, and so I do want to read it, but I am going to recommend it to you, because if you read it, if you please let me know, that would be great as well. A Murder in Virginia, Susan Lapsik. And it's basically, I don't know exactly what the book is about, but from the reviews that I've read so far, it tells the true story of murders and lynchings that went on in Virginia. And so when I read this book, I don't know if this is going to make it my 25 to 2025, but I'm definitely going to keep this in my visible space because I do want to read it. And so if I get a chance to get through this, because the I don't know, I like reading about mysteries and lynchings and information like that. I mean, it makes you look at the world differently, like through a different lens. But like the usual suspects, but your unusual suspects, right? So this one right here was when I did the what they call them, when I read the reviews were great reviews on the book. So that's what really drove me to actually get the book. for myself. So, yeah, A Murder in Virginia. Now, this book, I'm going to do this one first because this is a good one. This one right here was gifted to me. Nice Racism. How progressive white people perpetuate racial harm. And I think that this is so fitting for the situation that we're in right now. During this election in the United States, you may be seeing this somewhere in the world. The main reason why people claim they did not vote for the Democrat nominee was because they didn't know who she was. They didn't know what she was promising.